Restaurant workers of Reddit, what is the worst thing you have seen done to a customer's order? I know a guy that pee in a bucket of pickles. He would have never been caught if he didn't talk about it. Pour the whole tray of drinks over a guest, twice. International trade fair with students as waiters. First time was an accident. Second time she was so nervous she was practically shaking and spilled the drinks again on the same guy. I had a buddy at McDonald's. A real chaotic type, who every once in a while would say, "Oh hey, guess what time it is?" Pickle surprise and put a whole handful of pickles on a random cheeseburger. LOL. This genuinely made me laugh. I worked at a popular fast food chain in my younger years. It was my first time with closing shift and we were all doing our part to clean and prep the store. I see this lady with a mop and bucket come out of the back, slop it onto the griddle and start mopping it. I was appalled. I went and told the manager and she tells me, well, that's the quickest way to clean it, then scolded me for worrying about things that didn't concern me. I quit that job next day and then called the district office and told them what happened. That location closed down not long after, but the franchise still exists. I mean, there is such a thing as a grill mop, but it's absolutely distinct from a floor mop. The worst thing I did was to this one guy that I already didn't like and he was being kind of in butthole. I overcooked his eggs. One time we had a woman call back because her rotisserie chicken was burnt. I explained it's just charred because of the way it's cooked. She wasn't having it, so we agreed to get her a new one. 10 minutes after her husband left she called back even more saying this one was worse. We told her to send her husband back again for a new one. The manager and I went in back, with gloves on, and scraped off all the burnt parts. I crap you not, another 10 minutes after he leaves she calls again, but this time her rice didn't have any craisins on it. So once again I tell her to send him back. I dumped so many freaking craisins on that rice I think she got the point and we never saw them again. I know it's not super gross, but it's pretty rare to see someone maliciously frick with someone's food. I have seen cooks use the 5-second rule when dropping food or not washing hands, but that's about it in my 7 years in the industry. Worked in a fast food pizza joint. Nothing without consent of the customer happened, but customers ask some weird stuff. One time a customer asked for extra chili and emphasized a lot, so of course we put like a lot on it. Another person wanted chicken legs and wanted it extra crisp. He kept sending it back until it was pretty much burned, which is when he found it perfect. The worst one was a woman asked to put her pasta in a blender because she had just gotten prosthetics and couldn't properly eat. It looked disgusting. How do I turn off the notifications for this thread? He kept sending it back until it was pretty much burned, which is when he found it perfect. Used to work in a TGIF. Had an old lady on one table keep sending her steak back because it wasn't well done. By the time she was happy with it was practically charcoal, and she drowned it in ketchup. Tampering with food is not that common. I've been in the business a long time and only worked with one girl who spat in someone's food. Another server saw her and she got reported and fired immediately. The only other thing that sometimes happens is when people get cocky and ask for extremely spicy food, the kitchen staff turns into evil geniuses. A guy once asked me for wings so spicy that they would give a woman a miscarriage. I relayed those lovely instructions to the kitchen and I don't know what they did, but the sauce was burning my nose and making my eyes water as I carried it out. He was not able to finish his wings. Worked at McDonald's for a long time. Never seen anyone intentionally spit in anyone's food or anything like that, but it's definitely safe to say we've all eaten some burgers made without gloves or with contaminated gloves. Put on gloves, go on phone, make sandwiches. At my last restaurant job, my co-worker would make very ugly sundaes for customers who were rude. For particularly nice customers, she would painstakingly recreate the sundaes and the menu pictures and give them extra cream and sprinkles. Pretty much this. I'll make what you order but will not put any love into it. If you're a decent human, I will try to make you the best version of what you order. Some Indian guys came in one time and asked for us to make their food as spicy as possible. I told them that's going to be extremely spicy and wanted to make sure they knew what they were asking for. They went on a long rant about how Indian restaurants are the only places that actually know what spicy is and anything we bring out isn't going to be close to how spicy they like their food. So I had the owner come over to tell them that we'll try our best but there won't be any refund on this food if it's too spicy. So we made them chicken fried rice with Trinidad scorpion peppers. After 2 bites and about 10 glasses of soy milk later, they ordered something else. A friend of mine from Chennai went to Clemson and was overconfident at a place that had Carolina Reapers on the menu. Whoops. I worked in a very well-known fast food chain for a while. My favorite example of this actually involved nothing. The person who bought food had been rude to staff on multiple occasions. The person serving went to get their food, popped round the corner in a noticeable way, then returned having done nothing. He gave the food to him with a huge grin on his face and said enjoy. He then watched the person throw it in the bin when he went outside. Aha, the old psych out. The worst thing I ever did to a rude customer was give them exactly what they want. Oh, you were a huge B to my staff and ask for extra pickles? You get 25 pickles. I have cooked for 20 years and have never heard of or seen someone spit in food or do anything gross like that. That is simply not cool, and not what we are about. Teenagers in fast food may be the exception to this rule, but I sure freaking hope not. Your response was my favorite. I get how rude customers can be, but some of these people are straight up nasty. This isn't really bad, but a lot of the times when people send food back and there's clearly nothing wrong with it, the chefs will just rearrange the food on the plate, wait a minute or two and then send it out to the table. The funniest part is when the customer says that it's better. I had a crap manager tell me I had to mop the floor again after I had just done it perfectly. So I just waited 10 minutes and told him I did it. He comes out and says, "See, that wasn't so hard, was it? It really wasn't since I did jack crap." I worked for Applebee's for 7 years, and not until my last year did I witness this act. One of the cooks would drop down to 1 pair of tongs for the grill station for closing. He used the same tongs for raw chicken, beef, seafood, and cooked food. He would swish the tongs in his sanitizing solution. That looked like soup since he never changed it, claiming that it was good after that. I called him out on it and he told me that he never told me how to cook, so I should let him be. I told management too and it was swept under the rug like everything else. I quit shortly after, but that was the only time I witnessed something freaking disgusting like that. Salmonella, yum. Manager should be fired. Glad you left. I haven't worked in a restaurant in over 15 years. I never messed with anyone's food because that is assault. What I used to do to snotty Karen types is give them a senior discount and announce to the table when I drop the check that I remember to add the senior discount. That's funny because if they complain that's going to cost them money. Worked in a deli for a few years. I never tampered with anyone's food, but if you were a dong I guaranteed your bread was over toasted, the lettuce on your sandwich was wilted, the tomato was the butt end with the hole from us removing the core, your onions were little pieces, the meat was the smallest of the portions, and on and on. I wouldn't tamper with someone's food but I dang well wasn't making them a good sandwich. And all of that goes the exact opposite way with the customers I liked. Always gave them the best product to the point they would wait for me to help them. When I worked in a bakery I never deliberately tampered with anyone's order, but if you were nice to me you might get an extra cookie in your 6-pack, or an extra profiterole in your 12-pack. Not a restaurant, but sometimes if a customer at my grocery store is being an butthole I'll put their bananas or bread on the bottom of the cart so they get squished. Wanted extra mayo so I maliciously complied by drenching it. Lady thought I would forget her fake $10 prayer tip the last time she was there. I worked at Tim Hortons and a girl who worked there thought it was a great idea to staple a bag in which boiled eggs came in. That was a decade or more ago, when they had egg sandwiches. Don't know if they still have them. As I watched her do it, I told her that she probably shouldn't do it, but she ignored me and she hated everyone and everything. She was not a pleasant person to work with. Well, the next day a customer who was dining in brings her sandwich with a staple in it. She was puzzled as to how that staple got in there. I told the customer to call the corporate office and complain. I was fed up with that particular worker, and the fact that they kept her working there was just mind-boggling. She was so rude to all customers and hated being there every day. Thanks to that nasty girl though, I got a new job because she was so nasty to one of the customers that I took over serving that particular customer and made sure to have her order before she even walked into our theater. After a few weeks of me having her order ready, she would always come at the same time and I saw her car pulling in and would start her order right away. She offered me a job that paid twice as much and where I met lovely people that I still keep in touch with over 15 years later. OMG, I love that happy ending. Not food related. I worked at a restaurant that had a free photographer. They would print little postcards for free, but if you wanted the pictures printed they would charge a surplus for the printing. They used Photoshop to make the prints, so the artists would touch up the pics that they took before printing. Well, I had a party of 20 come in. A wedding party. They were super rude and only tipped $7 on their $500 check. I gave all $7 to the photographer, and he made the bride look fat. 1.4% tip. That's somehow worse than no tip at all. Worked in restaurants for over 10 years. It's pretty rare that you see people mess with some only food, but it does happen occasionally. The most memorable was once when a customer made a waitress cry complaining about their food and sent it back. The chef farted on the remake. It got a lot of laughs. More common is if a customer is in butthole. When they order dessert, you find the smallest slice of cheesecake you can. When I bartended, the worst thing I ever did to an order was pour a legal pour instead of being generous. The worst way I treated a customer was that once I refused to pick up the 2 dimes and a nickel he tried to tip me for his $14 drink, and when he said, "Hey, my man, this is for you," I replied with a terse, "Keep it, you clearly need that money more than I do." People don't frick with your food or drink. That's our job. We take pride in that. If you pee us off, we'll just refuse to serve you. There's this lady and her daughter that come into my restaurant. Every time I've ever served them, they make you run. "We need more ranch, I want another margarita, extra ketchup, etc etc." My favorite was the time when I asked if they wanted ranch with their wings. Nope, and then literally as soon as I brought the wings, "Oh, and we need ranch," and they never tip. Or if they do, it's insultingly low. Like once the tab was $48.50 and they gave me a $50 and I brought the change back and the daughter, who is in her mid-20s, smirks and says, "Oh, no, that's for you, sweetie." I left it there and walked away without a word. Now whenever they come in they just take forever to get served. And their margaritas, that they drink like water, mostly cause they may as well be, are probably about half strength compared to what everyone else that don't act like C towards the staff get. Their food sits under heat lamps getting stale for a while. The kitchen is aware of this and the reason for it, and they are on board since these B send food back all the time claiming it's wrong even though it was made exactly to order, and of course they always waited until it was more than half eaten to complain. I genuinely cannot stand them. The younger always just smirks when she orders things like she thinks that you're such a plebe for being a server. God, I read that as "I want another margarita, extra ketchup," and I was like, what the frick. I worked in restaurants for 10 plus years and never saw anybody intentionally fricking with a customer's food. Honestly, it's just not that common, in my experience. Same. Been in the business my whole life. Saw something deliberate one time only. There are plenty of sanitary issues in almost every restaurant, some worse than others, but it's very rare for someone to deliberately mess with your food. Cross-physical contamination and temperature issues are much bigger issue. Worked at a movie theater for a while. Our pizzas came frozen in a large bag of many pizzas, so the contents sometimes got shifted around during shipping. One dude was acting like it was the end of the world because he got there late, hungry, and had to wait in line. He ordered a pepperoni pizza, so my co-worker went to the freezer, pulled out a pizza with 1 slice of pepperoni on it, and tossed that sucker into the oven. The guy eventually got a refund, but that must have felt good to see the reaction from him. I used to work at a local pizza restaurant in a town known for its pizza. The cook always carried around a dirty, stained brown rag he would use to wipe his hands and sweat off his face blow his nose into. On multiple occasions I've seen him let the rag touch the pizza while he was preparing it. This always bugged the crap out of me, seeing cooks walking around with a rag hanging out of their back pocket. Back in college I worked in a fast food kitchen. We would make crappy rude customers' orders with hate instead of indifference. Seriously, messing with people's food is fricked up. Don't do it. I used to manage a BBQ restaurant and I worked opening shift on Sundays. For whatever reason the church crowd people were the worst. They would come into the restaurant and rearrange my lobby almost every Sunday. So when they ordered their food, I charged them for every single item instead of meals. If they ordered a sandwich and wanted an extra pickle, I charged them the 0.15 cents for an extra pickle, and the same went for every little petty thing I could find. I worked at a Taco Bell that used to be a combo Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, so it had this hood for the oven that was no longer there. One super tall guy used to rest his gloved hands up there between orders then make food. Once, to prove a point, I wiped it down to show him how dirty it was. He said, "Great, now it's clean." Also, night shift would put dirty cardboard boxes on the fryer area to put the fried food to cool so they could wash the tray. There was once a footprint on the box. I have more stories. Don't eat fast food at night. Never seen anybody intentionally mess with a guest's food, but at Benahano I have seen numerous different cooks go and down a couple shots of whiskey and then ride the lightning before walking out to cook in front of an entire family. I worked at a pizza joint in high school. The owners of the pizza place also had a woodworking business on the side, and they always gave this one butthole, nasty prick worker of them 75% of any time he came into the pizza store. That's fine, no problem. However, he'd always come in at like 9:55 PM when we closed at 10, without fail right when we got done cleaning everything. This would happen 2-3 times during the week. He knew exactly what he was doing because he was just a massive prick like that. It was always a big order, maybe a burger, some roasted chicken, and a pizza, so everything got dirty. To top it off, he'd sit there and eat the burger and some chicken and take the pizza home. That means we had to wait for him to get done and wait on him, as we had a strict nobody closes alone policy. So 2 of the 3 would be stuck there, and we couldn't close early or lock the doors because he saw the owners every day from 7 AM to 4 PM at the woodworking business, and he'd 100% rat us out. After a couple months of this, the store manager finally got sick of it, took the buns, put them down his crotch and let them sit there for a few minutes until his burger was done. Go to appreciate extra seasoning. Not a restaurant, but the prepared food section of a highly regarded grocery store. Someone forgot to toss the old potato salad that was on its 4th day. It needs to be thrown out at the end of the 3rd day. We were supposed to keep track of this stuff religiously. The manager told my co-worker to just mix it in with the brand new stuff, so people were eventually being given 6-day-old potato salad. I guess worse things could have happened, but I'm squeamish about food, so it really bothered me. Not a customer but a co-worker had her chicken tenders dropped in a cleaning bucket and then kicked down the cook's line. Kitchens near colleges really were a place of horror. There were only 3 things I'd ever do as a waitress. Stingy ice cream if your kids were brats, bigger serve if they were well behaved. One table were extremely racist to my colleagues, so I was given their table and they were so nice to me. So I overcooked their free brownie so it was burnt in some spots. Put too much chocolate topping on their brownie so it was sickly sweet and very hard to eat. If they had complained, I wouldn't pleaded ignorant about burning it and would have said I was being nice with the extra topping. I wish managers on the whole had more balls when dealing with racist customers. I've been a server bartender for almost 15 years and I have literally never seen food be tampered with maliciously. This is taken very seriously by every chef I've ever worked for. To further illustrate this, I have also never seen a chef or cook wear gloves while handling food, because that's seen as unprofessional and childish. Chefs think of it along the lines of latex and PVC gloves are for children who can't be trusted to run a clean station unsupervised. If you give the tiniest inkling that your workstation is unsanitary, or you don't constantly wash your hands, you would be immediately fired. Granted, I worked for more upscale places, but service workers past a certain age, and in these environments consider themselves to be professionals. And honestly, anyone who tells you serving and smiling at people that treat you like crap Or working a 12-hour shift in a 115-degree kitchen with breaks if and when you have time is unskilled labor has probably never done any real labor in their life. Was a server for 8 years. I can say no matter how annoyed any of us were, or how frustrated a kitchen staff was, we never tampered with food. Now can back of the house be a little sassy and extreme when you continually send food back? Absolutely. Stuff is too cold? We have cure. That steak not well done enough for you? Perfect. But leather it is. There are some unchangeable circumstances because of management oversight, like wilted lettuce they make us serve, not cleaning grease like they should, keeping food in the window too long during a rush, such as fries, so they don't have to keep making it per order, towels and such not being properly sanitized. I worked at Papa John's as a teenager. There was this one particular old dude that was loud and rude to whoever helped him every single time. He showed his butt immediately to this new guy and told him there better not be a fricking pepper in my box or me and you will have a problem, and the new dude was visibly upset. You know those little peppers that come with pizzas. So I grabbed the biggest juiciest one and was going to put it in the box beside the old guy's, but I may or may not have accidentally squeezed it a bit. Some of the juice may or may not have leaked all over the guy's food while I was carrying it over to the next box, and I may or may not have noticed. Oops. If you are a B to baristas at Starbucks, you will get decaf espresso shots in your latte cap frap whatever. If you order D, they will not shake it. This is the way. It's not really that bad, but lots of restaurants are guilty. The little date day or timestamp stickers on wrappers and salads. Look closely next time. If there's one stuck on top of the other, or if there's more than one mark on the wrapper, your food has probably expired. Sometimes this is done because the food actually is still good and it's a shame to waste it, but other times it's a lazy worker who doesn't want to make more food, or a greedy owner who doesn't want to lose 3 cents. The type of stickers and labels vary by restaurant. Some timestamps look like clocks and some are a line of numbers 112, with a mark through the one where the item expires. Example, if your sandwich has a mark through the 11, and it's now 3 o'clock, your sandwich expired 5 minutes ago, but honestly it's probably still good. Check your timestamps, people. I ordered a cider at one place. It expired a month ago. I just commented on it that they should check their stock, but I didn't mind it. It's cider. He apologized and insisted on getting me a new bottle. New one expired 2 months ago. Worked at a Sonic briefly like 16 years ago. Never saw anything done to the food, but we would routinely say rude things with ketchup in your burgers. Usually one-worders. The detail work's not that great. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.